Hello, Mark Laudi here. And I know what you're going to say. We already are digitally enabled. Or this isn't for us, this is for other companies rather than us. Well, what you're about to find out in the next 10 minutes in this short review of Bursa Malaysia's PLC transformation program Guidebook 4 is that there are lots of reasons to go digital, or perhaps even new angles that you and your senior leadership team haven't thought about yet. First and foremost, though, the guidebook starts off highlighting what happens to you if you don't take the digital train. And in essence, it's even marked them with these red icons to highlight just how important it is. Because when you don't go digital, there are lots of things that will fall short. You'll fall short in terms of your competitive advantage. You'll fall short in terms of productivity. You'll fall short in terms of incremental sales growth or overall profit growth. What you'll have more of is costs and, unfortunately, problems with your staff. And so what we're going to review are some of the key highlights of Guidebook 4 to help you avoid these problems. It also starts here in this graphic with two examples of companies which didn't manage to take that train. They didn't manage to get on the digital bandwagon and, unfortunately, are no longer with us in the ways that we were used to. Toys R Us, for example, couldn't get its head around digital. Where are they now? Or Borders. Do you remember Borders, the bookstore? Again, gone out of existence because they didn't manage to get digital. Speaking of famous booksellers, here's a quote that's sure to convince you. And here are the key words: will fail. And so really you have no choice but to take the digitalization track. And in the next couple of minutes, we'll look through how the Bursa Malaysia PLC transformation program recommends that you do that. And there's lots of compelling statistics packed into this 110 or so pages, starting with this one here. 9 in 10 consumers are more likely to shop with you when the experience that you give them is enhanced. 2 in 3 will stay with you if you demonstrate your ability to customize for them and remember them. And of course, digital and having the data on hand to be able to do that is essential. 1 in 2 Malaysian consumers have adopted online shopping as their primary shopping channel. And there are other statistics up here which in essence demonstrate the importance from a productivity perspective and a growth perspective. So what's really useful about Guidebook 4 is the advice it gives you on how to achieve this. And it's summarized in this graphic here. You have to go digital in order to enhance the customer experience and drive sales. You have to go digital in order to empower your people and keep them. You have to go digital in order to make your operations most efficient. And consider digital business models. And so let's have a look at what the ebook, the Guidebook 4 says about each of these 4 areas to see how this might apply to you. First, let's start with the customer. And what this graphic here represents is all of the things, all of the touch points that lead to a great customer experience, starting with the digital way of acquiring the raw materials, or perhaps how you hire your talent pool, all the way through to the supply chain and production or service delivery, all the way through to service, storage, fulfillment, and retailing, all the way through to how your workforce interacts with your customers. Very handy graphic that summarizes all the digitalization opportunities that you have. And the reasons to do so start with the customer. Your customer is already there. The question is, are you? The customer is already looking for self-service capabilities. They don't need you to hire more staff to service them. They need you to provide the opportunity for them to help themselves when it suits them. They already look for a mobile experience and a social media-enabled experience. They're looking for you to provide personalized and customized products and services. They still want a human touch, which of course adds to the complexity, going digital while keeping that human touch. And they want to have a seamless omni-channel experience. If you're still wondering what omni-channel means, this graphic in the Guidebook 4 spells it out. We've gone from a single store to service customers to going online through PCs and handphones to working across all of the channels that you might have. Omni-channel simply means that your customer can skip between the various touch points seamlessly And then it doesn't matter which device they're on, they're able to have that seamless experience through all of your touch points. So with your customer already being there, the question is, are you? Because if you do, these are the 6 outcomes that you'll be able to achieve. You'll have higher sales. You'll have higher brand loyalty. You'll have lower costs of service and marketing. You'll also be able to resolve customer complaints much faster. That's, of course, if you have them. And ultimately, make sure that customers come back to you. Now, there are further statistics in here that might help you if you are looking to get other people in your company on board, if you're looking to persuade certain departments that are asking you, we've always done it this way, why do we have to change? These statistics are very compelling. For example, that more than half of consumers expect a personalized experience. Very hard for you to do unless you have the data and the digital resources to make that happen. Even though the MCO is lifted and we are out of the pandemic, almost 9 in 10 Malaysian consumers will want to continue to interact with you online rather than go back to your physical store. And 9 in 10 consumers also say that the experience they have in buying your products and services is as important as the products and services themselves. So lots of compelling reasons for you to go digital for the sake of your customers, but also for your staff. These survey results in the Guidebook 4 clearly illustrate some of the pain points that you might already have with your staff. You already know that your staff account for a fairly substantial chunk of your monthly expenditure. Perhaps it's even the top line item in your P&L. And beyond the interaction, the human element, there are some very hardcore issues that you need to be able to tackle when it comes to staff, areas that you can tackle using digital channels. And Guidebook 4 points some of these out. For example, how do you fully enable staff to work remotely, or how do you bring them back into the office? How do you retain your key talent or hire new ones? And how do you manage the whole question around compensation so that you're able to keep your costs down and productivity up? And Guidebook 4 gives you a number of very practical, actionable things that you can do. For example, if you empower your workforce, then you'll have multiple benefits. For example, you'll have more motivated employees, which like to come to work and possibly treat your customers better. You'll have employees who will stay with you. You will have employees who will bring forward their creative ideas. Ultimately, those employees will trust you more. And because they're more empowered and engaged, not only will that benefit the reputation of your company, but also have more people look to work with your company. So there's lots of good, solid business reasons to empower and engage your staff. And you can do all of those things using digital tools and digital channels. For example, mobility, allowing your staff to be out of the office, perhaps travel from one customer site to another rather than be stuck behind a desk. When they're out and about, you're able to facilitate their ability to stay connected with the office or each other. You're giving them the opportunity to be flexible in where they work from and when. And the other one that I want to highlight is this one here, well-being. Again, that sounds very nice and very warm, but what's the tangible business outcome? That's also spelled out here in Guidebook 4. Here it is. Employees, when you're looking after their well-being, will have lower healthcare expenses and burnout, lower absenteeism, which means they actually want to show up to work in the morning. They'll feel more empowered, engaged, and ultimately might recommend you to other staff in order for them to also join your staff. So it addresses the talent acquisition question that you might already be grappling with. So well-being is not just a nice sounding term, it's essential for you to achieve your business outcomes. And that's exactly why digital channels and tools play such an important role. The call to action that's contained in Guidebook 4 has 5 points, and culminating in this one here, reskilling and continuous upskilling of your workforce in the digital age is not an option. Now on to business models. And as I mentioned at the outset, going digital is imperative for your customers, for your staff, for your operations, and ultimately also how you run your business, how the whole business operates. Here are 6 ideas contained in Guidebook 4 to make that work. For example, you could use various digital tools and channels to offer a freemium account. Or in other words, provide certain goods and services for free and pay a premium when they do want to purchase the higher quality or the more comprehensive service. Going on demand or e-commerce. Perhaps tapping into the sharing economy, where rather than owning your product, that people simply pay to access it without necessarily having the product themselves. And ultimately building a business model around experiences, which I highlighted earlier, is such a critical part of doing business these days. So that then brings us to the conclusion of where do we go next? And again, one of the reasons why I like Guidebook 4 so much is the fact that it doesn't just give you the propaganda around, go digital, go digital. You won't find any vendor pitches in Guidebook 4. It's not looking to sell you on a particular product or a particular digital service. It's simply saying it makes good business sense. And in fact, if you don't go digital, then you will suffer. But at the same time, you can see from this table that Guidebook 4 is quite balanced in that. They recognize that yes, there is certainly value and benefits from going digital for customers, companies, individuals, and society. But it also recognizes that there are some risks and challenges, and it behoves you to take a look at this chart for yourself. Similarly, some of the pitfalls of going digital. Yes, it's about technology, but not just about technology for its own sake. It's also about people. Yes, it's about data, but not just about data. Yes, it's about technology trends, but those trends change and you have to keep up with them. Yes, it's about transformation, but by definition, that's not a one-off process. It is a journey, as they always say. And yes, it is about the technology, but not just about the technology department in your company. So again, read this for further details so that you can avoid those pitfalls when you also get on the digital transformation journey. So what's expected of you as a leader? That's also covered. There are 6 key points. And again, I encourage you to please, for you, your board, your directors, your chairman, your chief executive, or other C-suites, have a read, because all of these are important. Leadership. What you are required to do is to state a compelling end setting. You're required to lead in the direction of travel. You're required to lead in terms of the resources made available to your people to implement all of this. You're required to lead in terms of analyzing the data that inevitably you'll have when you go digital. You will also be required to lead in terms of the culture and walking the talk. You'll be required to lead for governance and measurability, as well as accountability. So all in all, Guidebook 4 by Bursa Malaysia's PLC transformation program has all the things that you need to at least get started on the digital transformation journey, or to help to sharpen and shape your thinking if you are already on it. If we can be of any service at all in this regard, please feel free to reach out to me at these contact details.